are so not doing this.
Shut up.
No.
You can't be. This is not about Instagram. This is about real life events, all right?
It's terrible.
Breathe through it.
Can I like hold my hand like this?
You can do anything you want. You can even hold my hand. All right. Hey guys, this is Gemma from ASD Rocks and one of our super awesome, amazing rock stars, Nadine, happens to be my middle name,
Hello.
who has known me longer than ASD Rocks, longer than, oh my gosh, you've known me through the diagnosis
Yes.
of both. You've known me through the divorce.
Yes.
You have known me through some really questionable relationships.
Yes, and the fact that we've known each other for 30 years, it's probably...
All right, now let's not get too specific. Let's just not give real dates. Oh my God, it is over 30 years. So, and still solid friends. So, you know, if she can put up with me for that long,
Yes.
anyone can. I really wanted to get a friend's perspective on this because you were there when Beau was born. I think, in fact, you came to the hospital.
Yes.
You're that. She's so that kind of person, like the Martha Stewart of all friends. She's the one that will like send you an anniversary card, and you'll be like, "Oh my God, my anniversary's coming up! Shit." That's Nadine. You know? I mean, you've now basically also been co-raising your nieces.
Yeah.
Your niece and nephew.
Yes.
And I'm curious, two things. Did you ever see anything different about Beau? Did you know anything about, I mean, I didn't know anything about babies. I didn't really, before he was diagnosed. I mean, it was early.
No, I think we had a discussion. He was like a year and a half old, and it was when he was balancing on his tippy toes.
Oh, the toe walk.
And then I think we were having the conversation that this wasn't normal, you know, and at that point in time, truthfully, I didn't know too much about autism, but you know, he wasn't doing the normal noises like, you know, that kids make. You know, he was walking differently, so when we discussed it, you know, then all of a sudden you started seeing it for yourself and you're like going, yeah, actually this isn't
100%.
this isn't quite right. Not that there's something wrong with it, but it isn't quite
It
right.
isn't just what's you know, developmentally normal.
Yeah.
Now, I have no recollection, because that time's a bit of a fuzz,
Yeah.
but I have no recollection of how I told you about Beau.
We were actually, you were having a Tupperware party. And
God,
I got suckered into buying some things. And I think I stayed behind afterwards.
Oh,
and
wow. So
that
this was in Olive Street wow.
Yeah, and that's where I think you said you'd gone to, because you were getting comments from other parents in the
mother's group,
and you weren't not coping, but you were like, hang on, I'm getting more and more telling me, and so
and their kids were doing more and more.
Correct. And I think then, you know, you booked into a doctor's appointment.
Was this the one to tell me everything was okay, or was this the one to tell me the truth?
The truth.
I think it
was.
yeah.
And I think then, you know, that's where you found out that, you know, yes, he has autism, and I know your world was shattered, but at the same time, he was a beautiful boy. He was just different.
Yeah.
But he was still a beautiful boy. There was nothing different about him, like the way that he normally acted.
He had a gorgeous nature, but we didn't know if he was ever going to talk.
No.
And, you know, remembering that whole process of not knowing, you know, is he ever going to say mama? Is he ever going to say these things?
Yeah.
And so I was a fairly social person before that.
Yes.
And then I wasn't.
No, you weren't. And a lot of stuff happened at that time. Well, shortly, you know, within, I think, the next, let's call it 5-6 years, you know, like you had Finn, the was it the GFC happened, you know, the family, like, you know, you had the family stuff that you were going through
Divorce
with
and
the
everything,
divorce.
yeah.
You know, so there was a lot of stuff, and yeah, like you kind of did regress because, you know, you had a lot of crap to deal with.
Huge amount. And I think, you know, obviously we didn't trigger the GFC.
No.
But, you know, when it comes to marriages and diagnosis and things like that, I think, you know, it's something like 70-something% of marriages that have a diagnosis in it break up.
Yes.
70%.
Yeah.
You know, that's just, you know, if you've got a special needs child. So did you ever sort of think, did you ever get annoyed with the fact that I wasn't coming out and I was always, because I never called you back? Do you remember that stage?
Oh yeah, so there was, I think, a 2-year period. I think it was 2 years. You'd moved
At
to
least.
I think you moved to Hyatt. And I think I dropped some flowers for your birthday, and I happened to see Richard, who was was going to be nearly ex by that stage. And I never heard back from you, but like, you know, and it was probably months.
Which is weird, which for me, usually I'm such a...
Yes, like normally, like, you know, you'd be like straight away. But I didn't even blink an eyelid because...
Really?
I was just, you know, like I did kind of question it a little bit, but then I thought, no, you know, like at some point...
I went from Tupperware mum
Yeah.
to completely gone within, like I just retreated from everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And I just put 100% into, and I remember there being a comment, I think it was back in the days when we were still doing the whole Honor Lucille thing. And I remember people saying, I remember the comment, I think it might have even been a voicemail going, well, I would say call me back, but I know you're not going to.
Yeah.
And I think even just calling you back gave me such anxiety because I knew that it was going to be an invite to something, or it was going to be which I couldn't.
No.
I couldn't. I just, you know, Richard was going through his thing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you'd basically in that period of time that we didn't speak, you had hit rock bottom.
Further rock bottom than most people can,
you know,
ever.
And I had wished though, and I think we've discussed it, like, you know, like, because you never bring money and friends into it, but I had wished that you had told me at the time, because, you know, I would have done anything and everything.
I was so embarrassed.
Oh my God, like, you know, but it happens. Life happens.
It does. But I'm glad it happened.
Yeah.
I'm glad it happened because it has pushed me forward. And, you know, well, I think, you know, look, if there had been anyone I could have come to, it would have been you, honestly. But my world was spinning so quickly out of control.
Yeah.
And, you know, my marriage had broken down. Keeping food in the boys, keeping a roof over their head, plus the speech therapy, the occupational therapy, and all that stuff that needed to happen. And to be honest, it was about surviving, just surviving. And then I got embarrassed because I couldn't afford to go out. I couldn't afford to have a drink. I couldn't afford to, you know, I couldn't get a babysitter, and I certainly couldn't leave my kid with my parents.
No, absolutely not.
And I love the way you say that. People don't understand just how difficult it was for my parents to...
Well, I mean, it still is. That's you know, I mean, it's Chloe's how old now?
16.
And it still is, you know, so...
Well, I think that's mostly because the relationship isn't there. If the relationship had have been worked on or was there, then I really do think that they would have grown with him, and as he got verbal, they would have learned to speak to him, and you know, whereas now they're sort of like, well, you know, I try to talk to him, but it's because they don't know how to talk to him. So but you know, funnily enough, you come around and
it's not like I come, just so that everyone knows, it's not like I come around every day or every week, you know, like it might be every couple of months that I, you know, because we'll see each other away from the house.
exactly.
But when I do come, like, because Gemma does talk about me a lot, like
I
I'm
do.
featured in their minds, like even if they don't see me.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you know, his reaction over the years, it's just, oh my god, it's like the warm fuzzy feeling.
It is. It's like a wild deer has chosen you, isn't it? It's like when a wild deer approaches you, and you know you're like, oh, and he does. He loves, and also Nadine is such a calming person. I'm like, out of curiosity, having known me and Beau, did that make you fearful for your niece and nephew? Like, did you ever look at anything and go, oh?
No, well, I think I had a discussion with my sister, like, you know, because obviously you having gone through this, and you know, you just never know. And at the end of the day, I think just having a child is a blessing, and regardless of whether they're going to be perfect or not
Well, who
perfect.
is perfect?
Exactly.
I mean, my God, my mother got me, right?
So I think we had like a discussion, but at the same time we're like, you know, if it happens, it happens. And these days, you know, there's a lot more help, you know, to help.
Yeah, it's
the
not just
families.
Rain Man.
Correct.
It's not just like people know, like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
so
the difference.
regardless, you know, you'll still tackle it head on.
Yeah.
And you know, it is what it is. You know, so I think we sort of just had a very open mind.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because even with Finn, I remember I was like, every little thing he'd do, yeah, oh my God, is it? Will he? Does he?
Yeah.
And in the end, you know, actually having Finn was the best thing that could have ever happened to us, because I wouldn't have had more kids because I was so scared that it would be worse, or that I just had my hands so full. If I hadn't have been pregnant when Beau was diagnosed, there's just, you know, plus with what happened with the marriage and everything, I mean, there's just no way that things would have gone the way they did. But anyway, thank you.
No worries.
Let's go do our shopping.
Yay!